Hello, and welcome to The Reasonable Businessman. My name is Luke, and I'm here to help you understand business concepts. If you're a student looking to pass a test, this is probably not the place for you. If you're an entrepreneur or a businessman or woman or someone who's looking to understand concepts so you can apply them to your job, this is why I'm here. So today, this week, we're going to go over ADKAR. ADKAR is a change management model, and it's an acronym, ADKAR. ADKAR is how you manage change, very much like how you manage grief. So with the grief, you have the stages of grief, you have the acceptance and all that stuff. ADKAR is the exact same thing. So the acronym is awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. So I'm going to go through these individually. But first, I do have to say that anytime someone going through this change can be moving forward through the different steps and can always jump back to any point in this. But they cannot jump forward. You can't skip anything. If you're trying to go through and you're trying to skip something, you're going to stop there and you're never going to get past that step. So it's very important. It's a really good model to realize or to figure out why someone's not accepting a change. Obviously, if you're a manager, this is invaluable. If you yourself are bad at change, I've applied this to myself plenty of times. Whenever I'm going through something or my wife wants to go through some type of change and I'm resisting it, I'll figure out why and we'll work together. So, the first part, awareness. Obviously, you can't make a change if you're not aware of the change. That should be self-explanatory, but that's the first part, awareness. But to take that deeper, especially if you're a manager, awareness over time helps. If you tell somebody, you walk in and say, hey, we're doing a new networking system today, we're changing your entire job, awesome, let's get going, they're going to be like, what do you mean? I've got all this stuff happening. But if you say, hey man, in about 6 months, we're going to be doing this new network system, don't know all the details right now, but I'll tell you when I know. Cool. 4 months later, hey, remember that network thing we're talking about? It's going to be in about 2 months. They're finalizing the last details and compliance right now, and then of course the last week be like, hey, that stuff is coming out next week, we're going to get the details, and the day of, here's all the details, right? That amount of time and knowledge and awareness can have people prepare for a change, and that alone will fix a whole lot of problems. Way too many people resist change just because they don't have the heads up, and because they don't have the time to buy into the change. And because they don't have that time, or they're not granted that time, they feel like they're not given the respect to have their input. Sometimes say, hey, we're doing this new network system. Oh, that's great. Can we also include this? Can we maximize this change? Can I have my input put in and accepted? Even if that input isn't taken into the final product, though the ability to state those, the ability to contribute, helps people buy into that change, and that's invaluable. So that should be pretty self-explanatory. Just being aware of the change. Desire. You have to have people buy into the change, and this is where too many people gamble. Too many managers gamble with their employees, because too many managers say this change happening, and the desire is if you want to keep your job, then you're going to have to change. Well, that's going to have two things. You're either going to have people not wanting to keep their job, or at least not enough to deal with this change, and they're going to quit, or you're going to have to fire them, or they're going to call your bluff and they're going to say, oh, this is worth my job, I'm not doing it, I dare you to fire me. And that goes into the the different types of power people can have. Some people have the specialist power and all this stuff, but for now, just know that desire, you have to get their buy-in. Sometimes that takes a culture, sometimes that takes a benefit package, and whatever it is, that it's very catered to that individual, catered to this department. You have to be able to get that buy-in. You have to get that desire to make the change. A lot of times that's simply explaining why we're doing the change. Hey, we're getting this new network. Well, why? You're just making me learn something new. Oh, okay, well, this new network is going to save you 5 clicks every time you help a customer. So it's going to save you time or make it easier. It's going to be more colorful, whatever it is. But getting that desire, explaining why something happens, and getting them to buy into the necessity of it. And then explain to them what happens if you don't do it. Say, hey, we're doing this change, and yeah, here's these benefits we're going to do, but if we don't do this, our business is going to lag behind in the industry, and we're going to start failing and laying off jobs, whatever. So that's the desire, all right? Knowledge. You have to give them as much knowledge as you can about it. I understand some people have compliance issues, some people have security clearances, things like that. But if they're not aware of the details, then it's going to be this hidden thing off behind the smoke and mirrors. They're never going to know what's going on. So after you start trying to implement it or preparing for the implementation, they're going to have questions. Answer those questions. Be transparent. Because if they don't have those, they're going to go back down to desire. Hey, cool, we're doing a new network system. That sounds great. It's going to benefit us. How? Well, you'll find in some way it's going to help you. If you're going to be that awkward about it, I'm going to go back down to desire. I don't have the desire for it. Now you got to reinforce my desire. So get the knowledge. Show them how it's going to help. Give them all the details about it. What's going to change, and then what's new, and then that kind of segues into ability. Make sure that they have even the physical capability of doing this. If you're getting a new network system, and that network system is more laborious on your computer, but you all have i3 processors and it's loaded down already, and you're upgrading your computer system, it's probably going to be more of a headache for them. So you're going to have to make sure they have the proper computers for it. If it's a new way to do a sales pitch, make sure that they're trained, they know what to say, they have the ability. And that's entirely you giving that to them. Sure, some of them may have a more knack for a change, or the ability may not be the biggest obstacle, but they cannot be expected to gain their own ability. If you're making this change, you're forcing them to change, or you're asking them to change, you have to be able to empower them with the ability to do this new way. And that's the last step. Once they've started doing it, they know what's going on, they've started doing the change, they know all the details about it, you make sure that they have the ability to do the change, and then they start acting on it. And assuming they haven't jumped back to any step, that you have the ability, and they're like, well, I don't like doing it, which will happen. People start doing it, and they're like, no, I don't like this new way. They jump back to it. And you have to go through the process again. But once you get them there, they have the ability, they're starting to rock it. Do not forget reinforcement. Reinforcement is the number one thing in any change, in any organizational development, any new strategy, new implementation, new vision statements, whatever. They always forget reinforcement. Reinforcement is not just keeping it in your process as paper. No, you got to go back through. You got to make adjustments. You got to make your changes. You got to remind them that there's a benefit to it. Ask them how it's going. Get their emotional feedback. Get their buy-in. Constantly doing that reinforcement. And that will make or break anything. Once you've got through, so many people don't do the reinforcement, and they either just don't realize that everything goes back to the old way before the change, or a lot of times they'll, everything will just blow up in their face because they haven't reinforced it, and people end up just getting angrier and angrier. So that's ADKAR. One of my favorites, something that it's not very well known, but once again, it's just a business model to put your mindset in. If you're dealing with this situation, going through the ADKAR model, it's not going to show you how to tailor the change to an individual, but it's going to show you how to think about it, right? It's not going to give you the answers, but it's going to show you what questions to ask, basically, the way I like to put it. And that's really it. If you have any questions on it, please leave a comment. Of course, like and subscribe. This is YouTube. Do all those things. If you have questions about any other concepts or anything else, anything you want to try in business, if you're running your own business, or if you're working in an office and you're running into a problem, put a comment. I'll do some responses, and I'll hopefully make a video for whatever your question is, and see if I can bring some enlightenment to your life. Have a good day.